I've designed a new bumper sticker. I'm thinking about getting these printed. I think they'll sell. No, I'm serious. I think they'll sell. Friends don't let friends drive demon possessed. How you like that? Is that? I think it'll go. What do you think? You know, funny things will happen when you talk to people about the Lord. And if you can learn to laugh, it takes the sting out of it. I was on an airplane a few months ago. Guy next to me, you know how people on an airplane, they start talking to you. He said, hey, what do you do for a living? I said, well, I'm a minister, but right now I'm serving. At that time I was. I said, right now I'm serving as the president of a Christian university, but I'm a minister. And he just, well, he said, I'm an atheist. I just want you to know I'm an atheist. I said, wow, do they pay you for that? No, I didn't know that was a job, you know. He said, what do you do for a living? I said, I'm a university president. He said, I'm an atheist. I thought, wow, where do you get that job? And he said, well, no, it's not a job. He said, I just want you to know. He said, I didn't want to get this conversation started wrong. You need to know I'm an atheist. I said, okay. I said, look, I didn't bring this up. You did. And as we talked, he couldn't let it alone. He wouldn't leave it. He just kept going on. There's no God. I don't believe in all this stuff. The church is what's wrong with America. I hate Christians. I hate Christianity. He's just going on. And I just got to let him go. Well, after a little while, the plane hit one of those real rough places. You know, he's shaking and everything like this. And the pilot came on and said, you know, we're going to stop service for a while. Everybody fasten your seatbelt. I'm not going to shaking a little bit like this. He got quieter and quieter. And then in just a minute, the plane hit. I don't know anything about aerodynamics, but it's what I've always called an air pocket. I don't know what they're called, but the plane just is flying along, bounce, and then it drops. How many of you have experienced this wonderful, it's great, isn't it? And the plane just drops down. I don't know what's happening there, and I don't know how far it drops. It feels like it drops several hundred feet. You know, it just drops like that, and you feel your breath go out. And then it comes to the bottom of that air pocket. It hasn't hit anything but air, but it feels like you've hit the ground. It's just boom like that. So the plane was bouncing, all of a sudden it just drops and hits that bottom of the pond. He said, Jesus! Well, you know, I couldn't help it. I just started laughing. And he looked over at me for a minute. I went like this, and then he realized. And you know, I got to hand it to him. He laughed. He started laughing. He said, "Okay." You know, an atheist with a sense of humor, that's an amazing thing right there. Sometimes you just got to lighten up when you talk to people about the Lord. The second thing is this. Listen to me. You don't always get the honor and the privilege of closing the deal. Sometimes it's just a matter of opening your mouth, just saying something in the moment. Look, there are people to whom you have access that Dr. Cooper has no access. I don't have any. Dr. Paul Walker himself would have no access. Billy Graham has no access to them, but you do. Because you know them, you interact with them on a daily basis. If a minister witnesses to somebody, there's a wall that comes down. They think, okay, this is his job. He's a paid soul hunter. He doesn't, you know, he doesn't really care about me. But when laymen witness to laymen, there's no excuse. They can't figure it out. It makes no sense. It takes some boldness. It takes some boldness. Our baby daughter, Emily, Our oldest, Travis, is a pastor, and our middle daughter is married, all married to Christians, but our baby daughter is our missionary daughter. She is over our girls' homes that we have overseas. She works in Global Servants full-time and overseeing our girls' homes. She's a missionary. But when she was 15, we had a rough summer. I don't know what happens with 15-year-olds. I think they wake up on their 15th birthday and say, oh, I think I'll go insane. And you know what? I think I'll take my parents with me. So we hit a rough summer. But near the end of that summer, in a youth meeting, she came into a dramatic and powerful experience with the Lord and was filled with the Holy Spirit. But my lack of faith, here we go. My lack of faith, I've seen so many kids have summer camp religion. They get Jesus at youth camp, and then 2 weeks after football season starts, they can't find Jesus. So I just kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was away on preaching a revival service, and Allison called me in the hotel, and she said, Mark, something happened at school today, and I think you better talk to Emily. I said, this is, put her on. Put her on. She said, Daddy, something happened at school today. I said, tell me one thing. Are you in trouble? She said, well, I don't know. I said, I think you know. She said, Daddy, can I tell this or not? I said, all right, what is? She said, when I received the Holy Spirit this summer, the Lord spoke to my heart and said, one day, as soon as school starts, I'm going to call on you to witness to everybody. But I want you to wait until I tell you. She said, every single day I've gone to school saying, is it today, Lord? Is it today? Is it today? And he just kept saying, wait, wait. She said, today I was in the dining hall, in the cafeteria at lunch, and the Lord said, it's today and it's right now. It's right now. Listen, she wasn't going to some nice little Christian school. This was a huge public school, thousands of students. I don't know how many of you have been in the cafeteria of a huge public high school. It is not a restaurant, it's Hunger Games. And the Lord said, witness to these people right now, to all of them. So she's a 5 foot tall, blonde-haired, blue-eyed beauty, looks like her mom, who looks like $1 million. And she turned to the football player beside her, and she said, I need to make an announcement. Will you help me? She said, he stood up and said, all right, everybody, this girl wants to make an announcement. I want it quiet. She just said she got right up on the table, stood up on the table. She said, I don't want to make this announcement anonymously. I don't want to hide. My name is Emily Rutland, and you can find me and my phone number in the school directory. After I make this announcement, if you want to talk to me, call me. I'll be happy to meet you and pray with you. She said, I see what you're looking for, because I was looking for the same things. But she said, you're looking in all the wrong places. She said, this summer the Lord found me. Jesus came into my heart. He's filled me with his Spirit, and I would love to talk with you. God has a plan for your life, and I would love to talk to you about it. I thought, oh my God. Oh no, I mean, I had visions of the American Civil Liberties Union. String her up, you know. The assistant principal with the canes or get down off of that table. She said, Daddy, you're not going to believe what happened. I said, yes, I will. No, she said, you're not going to believe it. I said, what happened? She said, Daddy, they gave me a standing ovation. They stood up and applauded. And I thought, Lord, what meaneth this? Thousands of pagans at the lunch table applauding for her evangelism? What would that be about? And then I realized they weren't applauding for the message. They were applauding for the courage of the messenger. They said to themselves, not for any cause, not for any reason could I find the boldness and the courage to stand up and do this. They were amazed at that. Let me tell you like Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story. Just recently, I was preaching at a ministers' conference in Tennessee, and a young pastor, after I told that story, came up, and he said, that's your daughter? He said, I'm a Christian, and I'm a pastor today because of what happened that day in that lunchroom. Wow. Wow. Now, what if you say to yourself, now listen, Dr. Rutland, there is no way, I'm not climbing up on the table at the restaurant. You got to give me another option. How about this? How about just inviting somebody to church? Just invite somebody to church. And I meet church people all the time. They say, well, I brought my friend with me. They're wonderful Christians that have just moved into my... It's good. Yes, I'm not saying don't bring a Christian. Bring Christian. But do any of you know a heathen? I mean, is everybody in Atlanta now saved? Is that it? Are we all out of pagans? No, it's nice to invite the best people in town to church. How about inviting the worst people in town to church? I was preaching at a little I was preaching at a little Methodist church. And by the way, in the first service, I told this story, and afterward a man came up and he said, I was there. I know that church. A little Methodist church, about half the size of this middle section right here. And I was going to be there Sunday morning, Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night. So I just asked this question on Sunday morning. How many of you in the last 5 years have personally won somebody to Christ? Something you did or said caused them to get saved, not just the witness of your life. Nobody raised their hand. So I said, well, all right, how about in the last 10 years? I was going to use it as an example of encouragement. Nobody. I said, okay, what about in your whole life? Nobody in the whole church ever. So, I thought, we'll abandon this line of questioning. Then after the service, this lady came up to me, and I thought she was mad at me at first. I thought she wanted me to apologize, and I wasn't going to do it. But she came up to me kind of like this, and she said, Pastor, that's the most humiliating morning of my life. She said, I was saved in this church when I was 12. And she said, I have sat in the same pew for 60 years. And she said, I can't think of a single person who's a Christian today because of anything I ever said or did. And she said, now I'm going to tell you something. She said, you asked me that question tonight, and I'm going to have a different answer. When I got back for the night service, that lady was sitting on the front row, and there, beside her was the dirtiest little girl I've ever seen. I went over, I said, well, now, is this your granddaughter? She said, it's not my granddaughter. I said, ma'am, I wasn't trying to accuse you of anything. Who is this? She said, I went to the most dangerous, most awful trailer park in this county, and I knocked on the door of 25 house trailers before somebody would loan me a child. And she said, now I got her here, you do your job. So that night, I gave the altar call. That lady brought that little girl to the altar, and I prayed with the little girl to receive Christ. The next night, the lady was there, the little girl was there. It was a teenage boy. I said, now who's this? The little girl said, this is my big brother. Well, I gave the altar call. The two ladies, the little girl and the lady, brought the teenage boy to the altar. He prayed to receive Christ. The next night, the older lady was there, the little girl was there, the teenage boy was there, and there was a middle-aged woman. And I said to the kids now, who is this lady? They said, this is our mother. That night she got saved. Listen, 60 years that woman lived and attended church and walked in the victory of God without ever showing any fruit. And in 3 nights she won 3 people to Jesus. You can do this. You can do this. Look, this is the Christmas season. People are more open to God than any other time. All this gorgeous music. You can invite people that will come to hear the music, that will come to church. You find a heathen. There are people in your neighborhood, you know. You invite them to church with you, and then you bring them up to Dr. Cooper and say, here's my friend. Often it's just a matter of asking.